Hello, I am Böver from Edo, and we are live on our first edition of the Breaking Heads International podcast. With me is my co-host Arne. Arne, happy that you are here.
Yeah, happy to be here.
We will try this out. My English is terrible, but this is the reason I have Arne at my side, so he can help me. Usually, I help myself with swear words. This is something that happens if you're not good in a language. Sometimes you should just swear, and that's the reason I choose. It was really easy to find our first guest for the podcast because with me swearing, it was really easy to find him. Nassim Fouchane, we are happy to have you.
Hello, hi everyone. How are you? Thanks for having me on board, boys.
We are happy. Nassim, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Where are you from? Just like the big critic.
Yeah, well, I'm currently living in the UK. I'm been here for enough years to qualify as a legitimate UK player for Team England, so that's nice.
Ah,
um, uh, yeah, I mean, been playing for UK for what 2023 now? For UK for just under the start of 2019. So
start of 2019, so 4 years,
yeah, 4 years
roundabout.
pretty much.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Um, yeah, that's pretty much me. I've been played notoriously, notoriously. If a faction has a good shooting phase, I have been playing that. Um, is the running joke apparently? But yeah, so I mean that's pretty much about a little bit about me about my 40k. No, just very briefly, just been playing the game for 4 years, having fun. Made it to Team England this year. Except for the WTC as well.
Yeah, we will hopefully. I cannot wait to. Well, maybe because I don't know if I will be on the German team, but I will go to Belgium this year and just to meet people, and will be happy to meet you where at the WTC for England. Why is Nassim a part of our first podcast, apart from his ability to cancel podcasts and podcast members all over the world?
Hey,
Knock on wood
just
over here.
it's touch wood. I'm literally touching wood. Listen, all I can say in regard to that is keep it very professional. Um, it's usually I guess you could say misinterpretations that happen from people around myself rather than me. I like to say I'm usually on my best behavior, apart from the occasional swearing.
Yes. I don't think the spelling will be a problem here.
Oh fucking
But
Christ!
were some reasons why you're part of Team England or have become a clear member of Team England this year? You had a really good ITC season. You had some notable wins. And the part that impresses me most is your best infection with Adeptus Astartes for 2022 in the ITC,
Mhm.
and also your best infection Tau 2022 in the
Mhm.
ITC. So congratulations! I don't know anybody. Maybe you, maybe somebody told you who ever was able to get two best infections before in a year.
No, I actually asked and they said no, it's the first one. I was like, nice, I'll take it.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Definitely, I think one of my highlights of this year, at least achievement wise. Sure.
So you told us that you love shooting phases. So no surprise when that Tau is your best infection. But at episode started, so tell us a little bit about how did you get your points in 2022 with your Adeptus Astartes?
Yeah, so essentially with my with my Marines, a lot of people that know me like will know that I pretty much just exclusively played Iron Hands.
Hmm.
That mainly came from TTS, like playing a lot of practice during COVID. And when it came to events, I had like a list I was refined that I knew what I wanted to do with, or at least a list archetype. And um, came into the game for a few months, played a few events and super majors, then took a break for I think 7 to 8 months,
Hmm.
and then during near the end of the season, ended up playing more Iron Hands. I got back into it properly. I think it was when Tau had just been released, when Nids were some say at their very prime, which is a week of before they had received the first nerf. Let's say this.
Yes.
And I was
Before Encircle the Prey was nerfed. Yeah.
yeah, trust me, I know. I was like, oh, I can shoot this harpy. Oh wait, no, 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 I can't. I'm sorry. So that was my reintroductory into essentially 40k for the 2022 season. Did that. Had a lot of strong performances. My losses were essentially to I think exclusively David Gaylord with his Tyranid spam at the time,
Hmm.
with his warrior spam, Leviathans, and the other one was to Eldar when I generally could never shoot them ever. Like I could never shoot them. I moved 8 and they moved more and shot. I moved after they shot with
Swooping
everything.
Hawks, Fire and Fate Knights.
Yes, it was sweeping hawks. It was fire and fading. It was like dire Avengers shooting and then moving behind the wall. And I was just like, this is just what is this? What's going on here?
Uh,
Um,
I mean, to be honest, this sounds impressive. You play at a time when, well, nobody is playing Space Marines and nobody is playing Space Marines on a high level.
mm, yeah, I'll take the words of praise. Thank you for that. Um, but yeah, I think it was mainly at the time like no one was playing Space Marines. Like I mean, I just there was no one of note within the gaming community that was playing
Mm.
Space Marines, and for me it was just the main army that I owned that I know I could do well with. For what I owned, it was that or Guard. Guard was definitely not the option until now. Until cough cough. But yeah, so I mean there was that. So like I did well events. I wouldn't podium or anything like super major. But like I'd win a couple GTs, I'd podium in like a major, and like at the OGT Open. But I'd go consistently like go for one. I would drop a game consistently at a super major if he's somebody with the very top place run by a very good player. But that was essentially that for the majority of the season till the latter
Hmm.
part of it.
Yeah, I remember you getting a little bit of like this nickname of X and One.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
was the exact one?
It's
You remember better than me.
it's oh man, I forget. I, f- I think it was like X1 Chile. I was like, oh okay, it's just X and one Chile or raise that banner Chile. I was like, okay, this
Yeah,
is
true.
raise that. I stand by that. Listen, banners is great. Yeah, I've pretty much from I went from X1 Chile and then that all changed after LGT, which was great. Couldn't say that anymore. Ah, but yeah, no, it was a good run with the Marines. Yeah, it was definitely fun. Definitely one of the armies that very near and dear to my heart, and that I've had a lot of reps with.
Mm. You played just my last question for Varens. I think you played like and Aaron has listed me no today, but I think the one part I liked about it when I played you was just like these melee elements in it. Like yes, you had great shooting, but if you couldn't shoot something, you didn't care. You could just charge them in melee and just
Yeah,
destroy them. I always liked this.
yeah. I think I remember one time when like we had a game and I had charged you with Blade Guard veterans, and you was like, "Why they hit on twos? Why they explode in sixes to hit? Why they explode in
What's
sixes to win?" You were
what's
just so
happening here?
confused. I, I I remember that, yeah, because I think I charged your Land Raider, and you're like, "Wait, why are you doing damage? What's going on?"
Yeah, and you were
Yeah,
able, you were able to kill the land raider with the charging blade cut, and I was like, wait a second, what happened
Yeah,
here?
this is.
Sounds good.
But yeah, no, it was always great. Definitely, because like as much as the meme is, I have all of the guns. I take all of the guns, and I only care about the guns, which is a fair assumption
Hmm.
at surface level. I definitely a big fan of adding having a balanced list. Just as long as you have tools to answer everything, which includes the melee, the utility, the shooting, and the support. I think the list is at least it's the type of list that I enjoy playing.
and I
So,
think from the very beginning, your Iron Hands were always Whirlwind of Rage. I think
Yeah,
you were like
yeah,
basically never playing anything else than that.
yeah. It was Whirlwind of Rage. It went from Whirlwind of Rage and Born Heroes when I had a lot more melee components, such as like triple Vanguard
Mhm.
vets or for instance Vanguard vets. When Vanguard vets were really good, always rushed Assault Doctrine there, which was quite ironic. Um, and went on to slowly transition to slightly more and more shooting with different melee components and more dreadnoughts for heavier punch in melee, slightly fewer Vanguard vets with not necessarily needing the speed. And so I went over to Master Art Sans, which was nice.
So we are in the middle of the year. You are quite successful, especially considering you're playing Iron and Space Marines, uh, and you start playing Tau. Why do you start playing Tau? What's the
Oh,
reason?
so not many people actually know the story for why I actually played Tau. So, so me and my team were having a practice day at Badminton Cafe in London over here in the UK. Definitely
Hmm.
recommend going there if everybody ever goes. Just a small plug there. Great, like they have like the tables and they have most importantly positive LGD terrain and table mats that are laid out. So we went there, played a few games, and I was like with my iron hands, and my one of my mates, Ross, in my team, Warmasters, had his Tau, and he just could never beat Harlequins. He's one of my teammates and mates as well, Ryan. Um, so I was like, all right, I was like, listen here, I can beat Harlequins with Tau. It's my first time playing Tau. I genuinely told him I'm going to need you by my side here to explain to me some of the weapon profiles, and I'm going to make some tweaks to your list after having a quick, like I'm going to mean a quick read
Hmm.
of like YRPG. I mean, like I spent like 5-10 minutes on YRPG. I was like, all right, this is what I want in my list.
Oh, I'm loving this already.
And then I was like, all right, cool. And then my mate Ryan was like, yeah, like I'd like to see him. You just like you're just gonna lose. Like you've like you just smash Ross every time. I was like, all right, okay, we'll leave it. Let's see. And then I play it. And then and then I win. And I win the first time. This is with no planes, by the way. I had 0 planes in this list
Mm.
before I knew planes were a thing. I found out 2 weeks after. um, so I had that, and then I beat him once, and he was like, "All right, no, let's go again." And then he was even more hopeless the second time, and he was like, "I don't know what to do. Like
Ooh.
I don't know how Harlequins win this matchup now, vs Tau." And I'm just like, "Yeah, how do they win this matchup against Tau actually?" And actually, I was thinking, wait, you can do what with Tau? You can ignore modifiers, reroll wounds, reroll hits
Mm.
and wounds. You can have how many gun profiles on these guys? They can do what for free? And I just fell in love with the army. I was like, oh, they can redeploy. They're super fast. They're super killy. Um, they ignore most defensive buffs in the game. And I was like, all right, this list could actually deal with like the meta, which was at the time Necrons. It could kill Necrons fast enough, so screw their scoring,
Mhm.
and it could absolutely go through the Turned Warrior profile fully buffed because Transhuman you don't care because you have Strength 4. Cover, you ignored cover. You had AP that forced it in one regardless. You had multi damage, you have 3 damage and 2 damage. But you had a lot of shots. You could reroll hits and wounds. You had commanders that were BS2, so you don't care about a -1 hit. You had 3 Markalites, so your army was hitting on freeze within close range. You wanted to be close because you had your reroll. It just had all of the rules that you wanted. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna take this to LGT 1 week before this mission. And I was like,
Oh my god.
so it was 3 weeks before LGT. I was like, I'm gonna play Tau. And my teammates were just like, "Oh, what do you mean you're playing Tau? You're not playing your Iron Hands? That's not really. It's not really a smart idea. You've barely played Tau." I was like, "Yeah, it's. I'll figure it out." And then and the build up to it because I still had work. Like every time I would go back from work, I'd play at least one game of 40k, and then I played like 3 games on a weekend. And then but by the time I had like 8 games roughly, and I knew what type of list I wanted to take. Um, that didn't just include playtesting, but it had a lot of discussing list ideas with other top tower players at the time. Brian Seep in the UK.
Hmm.
I had Cal Grundy as well, and also everybody over here, like in the Discord, the hottest takes. Because people just going to me crazy, and I was just like, I can do it. Help me.
Yeah,
What's
no,
good? What's
no.
bad? And then yeah, and then the rest is essentially history with the tower. Yeah, but yeah, that
Perfect.
was.
So you go to LGT, just for our listeners who maybe not know this, LGT, but I think the second biggest tournament of the year, or let's say of the
Mhm,
ITC season, just 100 people less than LVO.
mhm.
And you were. Oh, what place were you in the end? Were you
I
second?
came. Yeah, I came second. I
Came
lost the
second.
roll off.
Yeah. You missed the roll off. That means you did go through how many rounds to reach the final?
I think it's a total of 10 rounds. I think it's the same as LVO, except the
Wow.
shadow rounds are recorded, so it was 10 rounds for 40k.
Yeah, nice. 10
I think
rounds of
about
40k.
I think I got to skip one of them, but it's 10 rounds of 40k. I think I played in 9.
With
So
the
are you
list you
saying
learned.
you went 8-1?
No, because I got the free win. Because that's still a win. The
Oh,
buy is
so
a win.
9-1.
I
Okay.
went 9-1. Yeah, I went 9-1. That's the Sacco in the finals.
With the list you learned 2 weeks ago.
Hey, 2.5 weeks.
Two and a half. Oh, okay. So,
Yeah.
so 2.5 weeks. What's rather nice. You seem to be a fast learner.
I certainly
Was it hard building all these town models in the 2.5 weeks?
Well, it's funny you say that. I don't own a single town model to my name at all. I just told my mate. She was like, "Oh, like, do you need to use my towel?" Like, and that's the reason why I went with the towel. I was like, "Oh, could I use your towel if I was to take the towel?" She was like, "Oh, really? Yeah, sure, why not?" I was like, "All right, boys, I'm going with towel." And that's how it worked. I was like, "All right, sweet, we're going that
I
way."
definitely remember the at least 3 times a day in the Discord spam of looking for
Yes,
game.
yes,
It
yes.
was it was it was definitely something to watch.
Uh,
Yeah, I think like of course we'll make a bit of fun of you came completely unprepared to LGT, but your training was intense. Your
it
training was
was.
intense.
I got little sleep. I think I was at least that week on this mission. I had like I think it was 5 hours worth of sleep a day. I was exhausted, but I was like, okay, I need to not screw up. The pressure was on now. I was like, oh,
So you're a fast learner. What interests me is um, we say, okay, yeah, of course you play shooting armies. Does it really help? So did it help you? But you had all your Iron Hands, maybe target priorities, whatever shooting tricks in the back of your mind when you went over to Tau. Did this help, or
it
was it?
it definitely helped a little bit. I think it helped a little bit more in the positioning element rather than the
Mhm,
actual activation. Because what I found when I moved over to Tau is that it had significantly less activations, but they were all so much more valuable. Um, so I had and luckily I had all these practice games because I think the longest games I had of 40k were all in my practice games, and it was figuring out some key elements, which was one, knowing when to redeploy and when. Well, to be fair, I didn't have the redeploy at the time, so it was just like just deploying. I did all of LGT without example of the Callion. It's like, what does this mean? I want to have this cold stock commander that has ignores the face cap, which was terrible by the way. Um, in retrospect, which I had to redeploy. But anyways, like it was mainly figuring out, okay, how am I going to deploy on this terrain? How am I going to do each round? Because so essentially I was always playing a 10 from behind, even if I was going first, because I was like, I can't alpha strike them. Unless it's just with the planes. So I was mainly figuring out what was useful in Iron Hands that could transition over the character positioning of auras, or the bigger ones, when to trade resources and when not to. Iron Hands was more of a trading game.
mhm.
Tau really were not because you couldn't afford to. Tried to replicate of the MSU crisis squads, which helped to an extent. But I think you kind of had to almost relearn the activation process. What helped was that you knew how much damage you could do because when you roll so many dice in 40k with different gun profiles, you have an inkling and of an understanding of how much this can do when you fire it. So I always understood, thanks to my games with Iron Hands, the damage that the list could do in the shooting phase. Like I
Mhm.
knew the 5 crisis suits could split this way and it would be fine. I knew that I could do this crisis suits here, this crisis suits here, split that way, and it would be fine. I think that was probably one of the biggest takes from it.
Yes, sounds like a great help, but a lot of other things you explained here now. Uh, right, you had to learn new, but interesting. Let's see. Let's just jump ahead. Let's make a big jump. So
Mhm.
second place, Rondon. Again, congratulations, great
Thank you.
result, and I think you were like, how? What was your overall placement in ITC? Do you remember it?
Yeah, I came fifth. I think the placement was Jack, Vic, Mike, David, and me. Top five.
Yes. So really good place. And you try to get even a better place, and you went to Las Vegas.
Hmm.
And like I believe like most of the I think we called it, what did we call it, on British invasion?
I think so.
Yeah, because of the British invasion, and I think
Retake the colonies.
sorry,
Retaking the colonies.
retaking the colonies. Okay, I like that. Didn't work out in the end. I believe
No.
you and Mike were the last two guys standing,
Yeah.
and I think I saw you losing in the shadow round.
Hmm.
Um, in hindsight, would you have taken a different list to Las Vegas? Would you have done something different?
No, I don't think I would have taken a different list. I think the archetype of Tau that I had then was the strongest at the time, and I still think so now.
Hmm.
I don't think there was anything list wise I could have done differently. I think I still would have stuck with the same list and taken the same list.
Okay, just uh, maybe different game matchup. I think
Yeah,
terrain was a
I
big.
yeah, going from the table that we initially had to the stream table was a jump which wasn't the most beneficial to myself, but it's fine. It's like it's at the end of the day, those are the choices that I make, so it's not an
Mhm.
excuse. Um, I probably potentially deploy my terrain slightly differently, and deploy a unit or probably just deploy a unit or two maybe differently as well. I need to rewatch it properly in further detail, but I think overall the game plan was fine. Execution of it was all right. Um, could have maybe had, I guess I hate to say this, a dice like literally a single dice go or a single die go in my
Mm.
favor a little bit more, which was not the first turn roll off, by the way. Yeah. Uh,
Sometimes it's just a dice game.
yeah, I mean it is a dice game, and you can't be mad at the dice because of it. It's like at the end of the day, when you agree to play 40k, you agree to surrender yourself to as much as there's a law of average when you roll dice, and you have rerolls to mitigate dice. You surrender yourself to the fact that it is a dice game. Dice will be dice. You can't be mad at the fact, or you can't be mad at the result of the dice because it's not something that you can control.
Still,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, it's just agreeing.
Yeah. It's we cannot do anything. Ah, I get so angry about dice sometimes. I'm getting so tilted with dice sometimes. But no, I'm not. I'm not. I think that's like the big thing I learned from playing the past 3 years with you guys is like I'm no longer getting tilted by dice. I'm getting angry as always, and I'm shouting and crying to God and whatever. But I'm not no longer getting tilted. So like this is
There
especially when playing with you. So this is good.
you go. You just can't outdice me.
I mean, what was
Possible.
it? This is just 5-ups. That's average. This just
Ah,
this is average 5-ups.
Oh, it's
I
good
mean,
to
this
know.
is
ah.
maybe a story we just have to mention.
What's
So
this?
Nassim, Iron Hands have the stratagem to gain a 5-up feel no pain on their infantry. Nassim, would
Uh-huh.
you like to tell us what the average number of 5-ups you make? Like maybe a number out of 10?
I'll probably like 2 out of 10.
Are you sure?
What do you mean?
Yeah, I just certainly remember some Nassim dice. And maybe that's just when you play me or anyone else
Listen,
I know.
listen. All I'm gonna say is you can't blame the dice when they go 40, but you can definitely take credit when they go your way. This is what I'm gonna say.
Oh yeah, I see. You can just take credit when the dice go well. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
It just happens really often. Is the issue.
You just you just gotta roll well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just don't stop rolling bad.
Yeah.
Yes,
Stop.
yes. I was really confused watching the game because you were on the War Games live stream, I believe, and I was like really confused with some of your roles, and I was like, why does he never roll this against me? This is so.
Yeah. Why do I never roll badly? like like any other game apart from one of the big games that matters, dice. Well, like we're gonna have to abandon you today, my boy. You see that cultist? It's not gonna die. This
Hmm.
plane is not gonna kill this cultist squad. No chance. Uh,
So really great Nephilim season, Nephilim and Nachman season, to be honest. And we got we asked like in our Breaking Heads community before we made the interview with you. Um, what are you interested in asking Nassim? Do you have any questions? And we got a lot of questions from Tau players who all ask, what are your views on Tau? What faction are you playing now? So Nassim, please tell us what Tau sub faction are you playing at the moment?
So the Tau sub-faction I'm playing at the moment is called Bone Soldiers in Astral Militarum Codex. It's either that or it's Master Artisans and Warlord in Rage in the Ironhand
Oh
Supplement
no!
Codex of the
Oh
Tau
no!
Codex. Um, no, but I guess to move on and
Uh,
just say a little bit about the transition that I've had like into arcs. Like in the build up to LVO, I've been playing a few games of arcs, and now the after LVO as well. I
mhm.
definitely went from playing Tau. It was still Farsight Enclaves. Still believe that's the way to go. Even if everybody can get two commanders, you get two commanders, and without the cost of a CP, which is massive, it's huge. Um,
Do you like Borkan? Just I will just put some of the talk
yeah,
questions still in.
yeah. I I do like Borkan. I think Borkan is an option. The main issue I have with Borkan is that it's not Farsight
Okay.
Enclaves.
Okay. So clear vote for Farsight Enclaves
I
for
yeah,
so
yeah.
okay.
I still think
So
Farsight's stronger.
yeah. So I'm sorry, dear Tau players who listens to this. We cannot help you, but Farsight Enclaves, do it.
There
Play
you
it.
go. Yeah, you
I
got
think
you.
it's the same thing that I would have told any Tau player in the country, but okay.
Well, they're not listening to you now, are they, Wolf?
Nobody is listening to me, so it doesn't matter.
But no, we're only kidding. No, but Farsight's definitely the way to go. It was I would say the only thing that's realistically changed in the list is the unfortunately you have to drop the Enforcer and you do go for the Crisis and Cold Star. As those are the two critical commanders. And I've
Hmm.
reverted to very similar list I had at Coventry actually, excluding the two planes. So a Crisis Commander, Cold Star Commander, the two Riptides, and the Crisis Suit Blob. But on top of that, also having another drop down squad and having a bit more utility in the form of another Devilfish and Breacher squad just to help you play the mission. And Primary Denial, which I think is now critical for Arcs of Omen, especially for Tau to play going forward. You can't just rely on tabling your opponent straight away. You have to be able to play the mission in some regards.
So when you say another devilfish, you mean a second one?
Yes, second
Okay.
Devilfish. Yeah. Uh, I mean,
So that's two fish, two breachers,
mhm.
and any crude?
No, none of the actual crew. You'd still have the units of Crete Hounds. I believe I had
Mhm.
what was 3 units of Crete Hounds on my
Makes
list.
sense.
Just the cheapest free that you can take.
Hmm.
And they're still really good. They can still do the actions for you on certain missions. Still pre-game. Still cheap back for the objective holder. Still good screening tool. Still all around pretty versatile and really good. So I'm still a big fan of the Crete Hounds.
Sounds to me still rather killy, to be honest.
It still has the list. Don't get it confused. It still that list still has a lot of damage.
Mm.
Just because it doesn't have planes and it doesn't have commander, the list's damage output hasn't necessarily decreased that much. Its reach has decreased a little bit, depending on the way that you view it. Because you can still move the devilfish and move in this above the squads inside the breaches, and still have very good reach in that regards. Vs like stuff like Eldar or stuff like Guard. Um, but you don't have the plane reach to get something on a backfield objective if they're trying to hide back
Mm.
there, for example. It's like the main thing.
Was you losing the planes? Was this a reason you changed faction, or
No, so I was when people were saying the planes left, I was still fine. And then the main issue is that I saw the changes that they did to the Marine secondaries. They reverted off of a moment to back how it was, which is really strong.
Mhm.
They made Iron Hands the way they were, which I still thought, oh yeah, this is very strong. I still think Tau is a bit better, which was the case at the time because like the secondaries are about equal, still a bit Tau favored. And then I read Codex Warfare, unfortunately, and I was like, yes, there is no way Tau win this game anymore. Unfortunately, it's just
Mm.
the main issue is that I've now played this matchup several times as on both sides, mainly on the Iron Hand side to be fair. Um, but I've found that the main issue is the Tau can kill the Marines. The Marines do fold like paper; they're not durable.
Mm.
However, it doesn't take a lot of Marines to also kill back the Tau, and the Tau have considerably less resources, so they lose the game of attrition. Um, they have to deal with a character Contemptor that can just wipe out a character, most of a Riptide, if not the entire Riptide in one go, and then pretty much an entire crisis unit as well, which they always have something that they have to figure out and to deal with. And on top of that, there's just so many other resources in the list that score better secondaries, shock tactics, flipping points with scouts, sticky objectives with troops, which now means that the Tau player has to send resources that they are already limited on to take away primary that they can't really afford to. And if they want to screen be stuff like a drop pod, they also have to sacrifice resources which they don't have many of. And by sacrificing those resources, they're just losing on the secondary game, which is just really rough.
I find this rather interesting. Just for information, we just have on this weekend that we are doing our interview here with our first major in Germany with Arcs of Omen, and we have one player who's running Iron Hands.
Mhm.
And
Only one?
no. The tournament is still ongoing.
Okay.
But I was like a bit confused why are not more people running Iron Hands, because having played you, of course, uh, I think it's a really strong. The secondaries are really strong,
Mhm.
and I think I tabled you or nearly tabled you, and you still won soundly on points. So I
Just
was like,
100 points. It just does like it
yeah,
doesn't
it's
like it doesn't
you
matter if you
just
get
did 100
tabled.
points without any problem, and I was like so impressed by Iron Hands. Um, so interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I think a factor for taking it is one the meta and cultural differences there are between Germany and over here in the UK.
Mm.
I think Iron Hand, like the birth of it was originated in Florida with the Broham a lot, but then that died down after their OVO 2 years ago. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 3 years ago,
Oh, good
three or
question.
like yeah, 3 years ago now. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, like yeah, well, 3 to 4 years ago
time
actually.
passes. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
long time ago. But then there was like a resurgence of it after COVID over here in the UK when I pioneered essentially what was basically the modern archetype now, and it's just because a lot of people would see it from outside of the UK and wouldn't understand it, and
Mm.
there'd be people from within the UK that would look at it would not understand it until they have to physically play against it, and that's when um I think that's where the differences come from. So like they haven't, because sometimes it's really hard to believe something you don't see. Um, which I think is definitely
Yes.
a factor there. And like most people would think Iron Hands are not the best, but before this, and then I'd play a game against it, and all of a sudden Liam, which we all know to probably be one of the best players we know, instead of him smashing me, 20-0, I'm scoring points, and he's like, what's going on here? This doesn't usually happen. like, like, like even the first time I played against him when he had like old coins with like I had old Iron Hands without a Contemptor. Like we played at T5S2, one of the events there. I think like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Um, like he's won that game by like 9 points, and it was like, yeah, crazy.
Yeah. Iron Hands score good on the LMVSL
Yeah,
charter. Perfect.
yeah.
Perfect.
And now,
I love it.
yeah,
So, but you told us that you're not going into arcs with Iron Hands. So, not one of your two factions that, helped you become so successful in the last year, but instead you choose guard. Tell
yeah,
us a little bit, Nassim, if you would like to.
yeah. Of
What
course.
list? What kind of list are you running? So we also heard Born Heroes. So, what is it? Exploding sixes are out of rules.
Yeah. So I think it's the Born Heroes, Born Soldiers. I kind of never just know. All I know is basically just a better version of the Votan one because it's only wide for free. Um, and it procs. Is essentially Born Soldiers. It's not the typical, because I've been seeing a lot of Rust like Bleeman Rust heavy list, which makes sense. It's a very efficient profile, very strong damage output. However, it leaves a lot to be desired in terms of utility, flexibility, really.
Ooh,
Um,
okay.
so I've gone for more of a mixed approach. I've got not going to go to specifics of the lists, but I do have like let me say, I've got Sentinels in the lists. I've got quite a few Cajuns in the list as well. I've shockingly enough, I'll say this: I have 3 Lehman Russes only, and I don't think I'll be taking more.
Hmm.
Um, and I've just really liked the flexibility that the army gives you. Like when you're playing these one of your other main contenders at the moment, because I think Jeans to the Coats and um, Marines are probably in the top 3 alongside Guard. When you're playing against those I guess you could say your compatriots there. It's um they're definitely they're able to hand out serious punishment, which is crazy, which is really good. They score really well. They have really good secondaries and stupid damage, and the orders are stupid. They're busted. GW nerfed them.
Yes.
Like it's like I went second beat Alex McDougall with his GSE, and he like tagged like 8 units 10-1, and it move blocked me by the DZ, and it didn't matter. It was still like I think a 16-4.
Oh my god.
That's rough.
Yeah, it was best case scenario for him. Was like because I was like, what do you think happens if guard goes first? He's think I just get absolutely blitzed off the table immediately without move blocking you, so it's worse. I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought as well. This was on decently heavy tables as well. I just
How's your game up versus Dark Angels?
so I haven't tested. I've played not 2 games of God after what feels like
Okay.
a million years. After what like 3 years on, 3 years roughly. So last played God properly. I don't remember myself to be fair. Um, but yeah, that was essential. So it's just been quite a long time. In itself. I in theory the matchup isn't terrible for the guard player. It's actually it's pretty well because you can ignore a lot of the defensive buffs that they have with minuses to hit. They have a lot of invuns, but you have a lot of multi damage, so that and volume, and
Mm-hmm.
also its Kassakin are busted. Um,
True.
Yes.
very busted. I didn't even use the on fives, and I still did like 12 model wins. Great.
Oh,
I was just like, I'm just gonna roll it the old-fashioned way and spend 1 CP to actually just do the model win threat, and that's it. Uh, but yeah, the I think the matchup into the guard into well guard into Space Marines is fine. I
mhm.
I think the secondaries are about even, roughly, depending on the archetype of Space Marines that you're taking. I think secondaries are about even. If anything, Space Marine favored. However, the resources on both sides is quite a lot. The guard has more flexibility. I'd probably say the Marines have a little bit more outright pure damage.
At least with the list archetypes you're running.
Yeah,
I've definitely seen some guard lists that are just that heavy on the outright damage.
yeah,
That I'd say they have more, but yeah. I know you've played the matchup from the other side though, from the Space Marine side into guard.
yeah.
How do you perceive it there?
I think that matchup is more on. It depends. It's rather than the Space Marine player being super competent. I mean, that still matters, of course. Like it always matters to a certain level. But I think at the top, I think it's going to matter more on is the guard player good? Is the guard player know what they're doing? If the answer to that is yes, then it's going to be really hard for the Space Marine to crack that army.
Hmm.
Um, and I think it's on the guard player to lose if the lists are around the same. And like if everything is even, I think it's on the guard player to lose, depending on the
All
list
right.
again.
Okay. Also true. We have like again an observation from Germany. Like most people here are doing jokes about, oh yes, everybody told us Astra Militarum, Imperial Guard will be so strong, and now they are really weak, and we don't have any top players on them at the moment, and we have not a lot of Imperial Guard players at our tournaments, to be honest.
No,
What would you say to these people?
I would say thank you very much. So it means I'm going to avoid the nerf. To be fair, I think guards currently states at a 48% win rate, which is not actually that high. Because I think even when Nids when they were released, like I think guard has a little bit more in terms of it's easier to screw up when your army can get tagged if you don't have the necessary tools to deal with it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
As much as the army offers flexibility, not everybody takes it. Like you said earlier, people have been being heavy on the damage, and it's great. You have more damage. However, then you run into the same problem that an army like Iron Hands does, where it has great damage. However, outside of it, people ask me, "Can you advance? Can you heroic?" No, you just do a lot of damage. You
So,
do
so
it
what
really
are
well.
you taking to give you this more flexibility?
So I mean, like, I'm just taking a lot more core. I'm taking transports. So I'm taking a few chimeras. I'm taking
Hmm.
the actual infantry themselves, which I don't see many people taking, which is shocking me. Like, I'm taking sentinels. I'm just taking a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
In really,
So just more units on the board that can interact, just do actions, stand in the way, hold
yeah,
markers.
pretty much.
Okay.
So hold
Good.
markers, deny markers, everything essentially.
Yeah. I like it. I like it. Okay. So maybe with for our German, or not for our German, but for maybe all our
Mhm.
Imperial Guard players, just don't take too many Lehman Russ. Don't take too many Kazakin. Maybe just a little bit more
Yeah,
flexibility.
you don't need to take max of something just because it's good. Like, you don't like you don't need to do this. Like, I know there's certain people, cough, they shall not be named. We know who their name starts with M. That like to just spam free of everything, but that doesn't mean that's the correct way to play the game. Like, just because a profile is super efficient, super good, doesn't mean it's super efficient, super good if you keep taking it. The efficiency does drop off.
And to be honest, like the Imperial Guard secondaries are like
So good.
stand where and you get like this crazy amount of secondary points.
Yeah, it's like, I'm going to kill something with an order. That's 2 points. I'm going to stand next to my officers that I want to do anyways. That's another 2 points. Well, your vehicles are there too. I have another point. Why not? Boots
Right.
on the ground. You mean stand in my backfield objectives and this corner, and I score like 14? Okay. Yes,
Yeah.
please.
So
Really good.
concentrating more on on staying alive a little bit, still
Yeah.
good damage, doing the secondaries. Yeah, I think that's nice to hear. I would love to see some more good players pick up Imperial Guard here in
hmm
Germany in the meantime, and I believe it's a high skill cap guard to be honest, but nice.
Yeah, I would say the skill ceiling. Well, so the skill floor for it is also pretty high. I think you can do really well at guard at an event, but I think if you want to win a super major, it's like gonna need to have the right list with the right reps and have
Hmm.
the right answers for each encounter that you run into.
Good. Nassim, um, we will be looking forward for your results with guard
Thank you very much.
in the UK. Have you already played the tournament with them? No.
No, I haven't played. I don't think. To be fair, I think my first singles tournament is going to be in the United States. So
The first thing is this will be in the United States.
yeah,
Okay.
it's going to be like end of next month before the super majors really start kicking in for me.
Oh, you're already returning to the US. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to be returning in March for Adepticon for the teams event and the singles event there.
Ah, okay, nice.
So that's going to be interesting.
Will you be coming to the Alpine Cup,
Uh,
Austria? I heard
I
something
might
like it.
I might go to support and just go there for a holiday. I don't know if I'll go there and actually play myself.
Ah, would have loved to play you.
Yeah, it would have
Okay.
been great. Me and you in the finals. There you go.
Uh, I mean, our team.
You'll have to go through me first.
Yeah, exactly. So
And
yeah,
Fred
yeah, exactly.
um,
So me and Wolf in the finals. Duh, come
Ah,
yeah.
I see, I see.
on.
Yeah, I will not say anything against this. This is typical. And then I'm again dying to some Hydra doing Overwatch and killing my half tyrant
Well,
while doing
that
it.
sounds like a you problem. Maybe you shouldn't have a hive tyrant. Have you thought about the fact that it's really selfish that you have a hive tyrant? You shouldn't have.
uh, uh, Nassim Fouchane. Nassim, thank you for being here. Good luck in the
My
season. I
pleasure.
hope to see you in Belgium, or we hope to see you in Belgium in the summer.
Yeah, it should be
And
fun.
thank you for a view into Gard in Arcs of Omen, for a small view into Tau.
Thank you.
And have a nice evening.
Thank you very much. My pleasure. It was great being here. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks for coming. See you around.
I think this was our first edition, and we will see when if somebody likes it. Maybe we will do a second. Bye.
Sounds good.